Will everybody please rise? Let us give energy, love, light to Hmt NTR Maat. Hmt.
Nini. Please remain standing and repeat after me. Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Hmt NTR.
Autu Alma.
Autu Alma.
Kemetic Heru.
Kemetic Heru.
The translation is:
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself for God daily. And may tomorrow be as today.
We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything and yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the NTR, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in the moments of crisis, in the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is, and so shall it be. Everyone say, Hmt Maat.
Hmt Maat.
Ma'akaru.
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 MC. So over the last couple of weeks, Ms. Biddy has taken occasion to give the State of the Communion address and to talk about what's been going on in the conscious community and about the criticism that has been directed at the practitioners in particular. And he's addressed it from his perspective, and he's used the wisdom of our ancestors to ground that perspective in Ma'at. And so for those of you who might not be familiar with some of the things that he said, I would encourage you to go back to watch those videos, some of which are streamed on Facebook, some of which are streamed on Sonetta's platform on YouTube. I think some of us were streaming Friday night when we were at the Guardians of the Ankh, and I believe Sonetta is going to upload that video shortly. So I think it's crucial for those of us who walk this path to know what's going on and what's being said about us, particularly coming from people who don't know us, which is probably the funniest part about the whole thing. But I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of share my thoughts about the whole thing, and just to give you all some perspective about how I think we should feel about it. And one of the reasons why I really wasn't going to say anything about this is because we never needed their permission in the first place. And we didn't need their permission in the last place. All of us choose to be Kemetic because that's what resonates with us. And when you talk about resonance, when you talk about something that speaks to your soul and speaks to your spirit and grounds you and gives you a strong place of being, a strong sense of who you are and who you're meant to be, that's all the permission that you need. That's the affirmation from the NTR. That's the affirmation from your ancestors. Why would you need affirmation from people who don't even respect us enough to come to the temple and see who we are and see what we do? Why would we need them to tell us that it's okay to be who we were always meant to be who we were created to be? I take offense to it because I recognize that in their criticism is the truth that many of them don't know this legacy as well as they think they do. As much as they study it, they don't understand it. And I know that because we have our Sesh Nasus and Jetty in our ranks. I've known the Session Sue for a few years now, even before he was a part of the Temple of Anu. And he was a student of this tradition. He studied this legacy. He was a scholar. Sinjeti is a child of Jehudi, and you can see that in the way that he talks, in the way that he reads, in the way that he studies. Those of you who were at last communion, when he came up to do communion, he brought like 15 books with him. I came to do communion, I brought one book. He brought 15 books. That's a demonstration of someone who highly values intellect and study. But the interesting thing about Jehudi, if you understand our tradition, Jehudi is not just the consummate scholar. Jehudi is a magician as well. When I talk about magic, when we talk about magic, we're talking about hekau. We're talking about words of power, particularly as it pertains to Jehudi. We're talking about the ability to speak an intention and then to follow through on that intention with our actions in such a way that the thing that we intended to happen is exactly what happens, because our idea and our intention and our action are all in alignment with one another. When you look at the stories of creation, you have the idea embodied in Ra, and then you have the word embodied in Jehudi, and then you have existence being made manifest, because there is consistency between the word and the idea and the manifestation of such. And our ancestors crafted stories like that because that's what they observed in our behavior. When we say we're going to do something and we do it, that is what magic looks like. It looks like our having a divine spark of inspiration and then having the courage and the audacity to follow through on that inspiration and actually make moves in the world so that the world is forevermore changed by everything that we have chosen to do by our own hands. So the Neteru are not these abstract concepts. They live in us. And Jehudi creates the same way that we create, by having consistency between the idea and the intention and the action. So that is how Jehudi is a magician. So when you talk about Jehudi, you cannot just rely on the study and the intelligence of it. You have to also have action behind it. You have to also embrace magic. But to these people, magic is spookism, though. How can you be a true student of this legacy if you don't embrace the power of this legacy? Our ancestors created great monuments. They didn't talk about great monuments. They didn't theorize about great monuments. They didn't draw up blueprints for great monuments and then left them undone. They thought, they theorized, and then they did it. They were ma'akaru. They were victorious. They were true to their word. I'm also bothered by the fact that even if all of those things weren't true, I know my life has been made better by being Kemetic. How many of y'all can say that your lives have been made better by being Kemetic? That's a lot of people in here. How many people online can say that your lives were made better by being Kemetic? I want some thumbs up in the comments if your life has been made better by being Kemetic. By your choice to walk this legacy, by your choice to walk this path. And for anybody who is unclear about whether or not their life has been made better, I got some questions for you. Has meditation helped you to cultivate control of your thoughts and control of your emotions? Has it helped you to not react in ways that you then have to apologize for and be sorry for and be regretful for? But meditation creates in you a stillness so that you can be centered and responsive and be thoughtful and intentional with your actions and your words. Then if the answer to that is yes, then you've been made better by this legacy. Has engaging in ritual libation strengthened your connection to your ancestors? Has it made you feel like your legacy is part of their legacy? Has it made that idea not abstract but concrete for you? the knowledge and the feeling that they protect you, that they guide you, that they walk with you day in and day out. And you know this to be true because you connect with them every day through which ritual libation. If the answer to that is yes, then you have been made better by this legacy. Has performing the opening of the way helped you to be more aware of the divine powers within you? When we was at the Shrine of Ma'at, Baba Haru spoke about how he came up with the opening the way. And he talked about how the Mesu Haru, the four sons of Haru, Hapi, Kebsinu, Duamutet, Inset, how these are the energies that live inside of us and that govern our organs, and that out of respect for the divine powers in us, we must have respect for ourselves and for our own bodies and for the way that we eat and treat ourselves and sleep and rejuvenate ourselves. So has the opening of the way and respect for yourself helped you to live better? Has making offerings given you a sense of awareness of the gifts that you're getting from the universe? Has it given you an awareness of the reciprocity that was always a part of your life? But now that you know it and you see it happening, and you can participate in it actively, in giving to the Netaru and giving to the ancestors, because they are constantly giving to you and feeding you and allowing that open channel of reciprocity and communication and love to continue to flow easily between you. Has living in gratitude given you more things to be grateful for? Has struggling together with the people of your town given you the opportunity to rejoice in victory with them? If the answer to those questions is yes, then your life has been improved. So why would anybody discourage us from doing the things that make our lives better? Why would anybody want Black people to shy away from the things that are improving them and that are making the condition of their lives better? Amakeda got up here a little while ago and talked about her daughter getting scholarships to college. Who want to tell Johnson not to go to college? Is college going to improve her? Is college going to help prepare her for the world? Is it going to give her a space to explore her independence while still having a safety net and not just being out there in the world all by herself? Is it going to give her classes and teachings and lessons that help her to figure out what she wants to be, what she wants to do, and how she's going to contribute to the world? What wisdom is there in telling someone, don't go do the thing that's going to make you better. Don't go do the thing that's going to improve you. Don't go do the thing that's going to prepare you for the world? What wisdom is that? That's not wisdom at all.
Not at all.
But I'm not really speaking to those people because our critics don't care. And that's truly my perspective. My perspective is that this is me telling you all how I feel. Those of you who are initiates and practitioners, and those of you who might be seeking to understand more about this tradition and who we are and what we're about. Because as far as the critics are concerned, I have to look at the words of our ancestor Pahebhor, because he said, no instruction can succeed if there is resentment for it. So what I have to say, they don't respect it. They don't want to hear it, and they don't care about it. And I don't think that it's useful for me to expend my energy trying to answer them. But I do recognize the necessity of offering clarity and perspective to those of you who might be seeking and who might need it. So these words are for those of you who have the wisdom to be open to right and true. This is for y'all. This is not for them. In the car on the way over here, it occurred to me that what is happening in the conscious community now is a reflection of what's happening in the greater community in the United States of America. I didn't watch Trump's speech this week, but I heard a little bit about it. One of the things that I heard about it was that he said to his followers that their ancestors came over on the Mayflower, etc., Pilgrim, and that they found a new world, and that they revolutionized this world. They tamed the Wild West. They built the railroads. They took care of the crops in the fields. They constructed great buildings. They created this nation. And the article I was reading was like, what about the Native Americans though? Like, weren't they already here? Didn't they already have civilization? Didn't they already have culture? Weren't they already cultivating this land? Weren't they already doing that work? How can you take credit for their work? How can you erase them from history? What about the Africans that y'all went to a continent to steal and enslave them, to build the railroads, to build the monuments, to tend to the fields, to do the work that you're now taking credit for? How are you going to say you did this? How are you going to revise history to erase them from it? As though they were not here, as though they were not a part of it, as though their contributions were not more valuable. Those contributions came on the backs of sweat and blood. People gave lives for those contributions, and you want to erase them from history. And then you have people trying to be centrists in the whole thing, in the middle of the road, asking us, well, why don't we compromise with these people who want to erase us from history? Compromise, asking Latinos who have immigrated here, compromise with the people who want to deport you. Compromise with the people who don't see you as 100% human. Compromise with the people who think that you're lazy and of no good. Compromise with the people who want to send all your men to prison. Compromise with the people who don't want to teach your children, who want to give them subpar materials and subpar schools. Compromise with the people who talk bad about black women and make them feel bad about their hair and their shape and their noses and their looks. Compromise. There is no compromise. There is no compromise to be had. If your whole position is one that is against us, where is there common ground? Where is there space to compromise? And I feel the same exact way about the critics of the conscious community who look at us and they want to shame us for doing Hesse, as though we're not allowed to chant, as though we shouldn't raise our vibration by using the Rani Kemet, as though we shouldn't use essential oils to center our mind and center our emotional selves, as though we shouldn't do libation to our ancestors because it's spooky. We shouldn't give offerings to the Netaru because there is no God. There is no compromise in that. There is no compromise in that. How can you compromise with people who want to tell you that the only way is for you to give up your culture, to give up your spirituality, to give up your choice, to give up your way of life because they think it's invalid? There's no respect in that, and there's no compromise to be had. This is a fight about who we are. This is a fight about what matters to us. That is what we're here for, and nothing less. And if living a life of Ma'at doesn't matter to you, then we might not be your tribe. But let's be clear, we can still be your people, even if we're not your tribe. You don't gotta be a member of the temple to buy black and support black businesses. You don't gotta be a member of the temple to support black organizations, to encourage young black children to go through rites of passage, to put your kids into martial arts like capoeira or in African dance classes and to teach them culture. You don't have to be a part of the temple to fight for black liberation. You don't have to be a part of the temple to encourage black empowerment. And at the end of the day, if you claim to love black people, then you have to love black people. Even the ones who don't agree with you. Even the ones who have spiritual practices that differ from yours. Even the ones who are doing things that you think they shouldn't. If they're black people and you love black people, then you love black people. But we here for who we are and what matters to us. And I know some of the things that matter to us are prosperity. Maybe it only matters to Judy, but prosperity matters to us, right?
True.
Joy in our hearts, does that matter to us?
True.
Having happiness in our lives, having our children be happy, watching them smile, watching them play, watching them have safe spaces to express themselves, doesn't that matter to us?
True.
Don't we all want to have success in our endeavors?
True.
That everything that we touch turn to gold?
True.
Okay? Don't we want to live with peace and contentment? Live in Hmt. Don't we want to have love in our lives? Sisterly love, brotherly love, akoma love. We can have that too. There's room for all types of love. Love of our ancestors, love of the Neteru, love for each other. All of those things matter to us. And that's why we choose to be Kemetic. Because we believe that this path, not just believe, we know that this path is going to guarantee us the things that matter to us. This is who we are. This is what matters to us. Why would you want people to walk away from that? Our ancestor Anui said, if you walk each day in the way of righteousness, you will reach the place where you're going.
That's right.
So we all want prosperity. Let's walk each day in the path of righteousness, and we will reach that place of prosperity. We want joy in our hearts. Let's walk each day in the path of righteousness, and we will have joy in our hearts. We want success in our endeavors. Walk each day in the path of righteousness, and you shall have success in your endeavors. That is the promise that our ancestors made us, but they told us we had to walk.
Right.
We cannot just theorize. We cannot just study. We cannot contemplate or plan or dream or imagine. We have to walk. We cannot take for granted the divine powers that exist in us. Just like Wabet Kisa said, you might have it, but you still have to activate it.
That's right.
So you can study the books, and you can study the history, and you can read all the texts that you want to. But you have to come do the prayers, do the hesi, do the meditation, do the offerings, do the work. You have to do the magic. And that is what lights the flame inside of you. That is what makes your potential actuality. That is what brings consistency between the idea and the intention and the actualization of such. That is who we are. That is what matters to us. And that's my perspective on this whole situation. Can everyone please stand? Arms up at a 90-degree angle. Everyone say, Shemi Amatet. Dianu Uncle Jocelyn. Brothers cross right over left. Sisters cross left over right. Open. Give energy. Bring it into the body so we can ground it out. And on the count of 3, stomp with your right foot. Wasanu Shemet. Dua Nesta. I thought you were